Hello, it's Dr. Riley from RBK Pediatrics. Today we're going to talk about 6-year-olds. It's June, and June we like to talk about 6-year-olds and their health. I'm an obesity medicine specialist and clinical lipidologist, as well as being a pediatrician. And if you're getting this video, it's because I ran a report in the system and someone put in the system that someone or your child has greater than 95th percentile for their BMI, which BMI is a measure of how much they weigh for how tall they are, right? And when I see 6-year-olds, a lot of times for a physical, one of the things that I struggle with is this idea that it's okay for a 6-year-old to be heavy, and that when they get older, we can rely on them to get thinner because they'll increase their activity level and things like that. But yeah, that does not seem to be a thing, right? That as kids get older, they actually are more likely to struggle with losing weight. So actually, today is the day. Really, we want to start making sure that our kids are healthier as young as they possibly can. But 6 seems to be, in particular, kind of an age where all of a sudden now their metabolism may become slower for the rest of their life. So really, no, today is the day. We really want to make sure that we can do it. And actually, there are some studies that say maybe if we had started younger, things would have been a little bit better. But luckily, the Cochrane people have done this kind of review where it says it's not too late to start now, but certainly it's the kind of thing we need to move on this kind of stuff if we're going to help. And certainly, the most important thing is the food. And there's a lot of things that go on with food. It's the kind of food we're eating, when we're eating it, and really it's the kind of thing that I think when we're trying to just survive every day, because usually we're just all so busy, we lose sight of what's the main purpose of food. And it's not just to fill a hole, but it's actually to grow a human being. So every single day, our idea should be to kind of give as much nutrients and vitamins and things that the kids need as much as possible. Like for example, like the omega-3 fatty acids are things that we don't necessarily find in food, but they just seem like they're so important for brain function and health, and to fight off things like depression and anxiety and all these kind of horrible things that happen to our children later in life. So the more that we can give healthier kind of foods, the better off that we're going to be. And one of the ways we can make sure that the food is healthy is to make sure it doesn't have any sugar. And certainly drinking sugar is super bad, right? So we try to make sure that kids are not drinking anything that has sugar. That means even if you're making a healthy juice, even if you're buying or honest juice, or you're making it yourself, or even if you're making a smoothie and it's like made from a lot of fruit, that apparently is actually not so good for kids, right? And the mechanisms are beyond the reach of this video, but you can trust me, right? I'm a crazy person for stuff like this, and it's definitely not good. So we would much rather kids drink water and actually eat their fruit, and then usually your body can actually handle that much better. But especially things like breakfast. If you're eating your breakfast and it has a lot of added sugar, then that's not so good. Or your snacks, if it has added sugar, those things are actually not so good. But it's also if they're high glycemic index. What I think people are starting to realize now is that these high glycemic index foods, your body actually can turn them into fructose. And fructose is the part of the sugar that actually is particularly bad. And that's why other countries, besides the United States, have actually outlawed high fructose corn syrup, because it just seems like it causes a lot of things that are bad for people. Unfortunately, they can stick it in food in the United States, and especially if you get food from outside sources, then it's a lot of times going to have high fructose corn syrup, because that stuff is cheap, and it does seem like it makes people extra hungry, want more food, and it makes them actually come to the doctor more, right? So usually we want to avoid those kind of things as much as possible. And I forgot to mention about salt, that, yeah, salt, we know that it's perhaps not so good for blood pressure, but we know that particularly it's not as good to give things that have tons of salt for kids, because it also makes it easier for them to gain weight, which is one of the reasons why French fries are bad, right? Because it's like high glycemic index food, which is the French fries, then you put salt on it, and then perhaps you have it with a soda, and it's like a triple whammy of 3 things that are bad for you. Of course, the kids are in big trouble. Sleep is one of these things, super important. And yeah, it is one of those things that in our culture, we don't seem to value sleep. When you're 6 years old, you're probably supposed to be sleeping around 11 hours worth of sleep. But one of the things I see in my kids who struggle with weight is that a lot of times they're going to bed at the same time as their older siblings. And that's not good because a 6-year-old is not like a little 12-year-old, right? 6-year-olds are different. They need to go to bed earlier and they need to get more sleep because it is super important for their body, not just for their brain growth, which, probably that the less sleep you get, the less your brain is able to grow, and perhaps it can cause you to have learning problems later in life. But it also is super important for your metabolism. Now, now I think everybody knows that I'm pushing exercise for everybody, but the guys that do stuff like that I do, obesity medicine specialists, they usually say that ounces are lost in the gym and pounds are lost in the kitchen. And that's true. But little kids are supposed to be exercising. They're supposed to be going outside. And every year I see kids in August, they are not tan. It's because they've spent the whole summer inside playing video games, not going outside. And it's very difficult if you're a busy person to try to make sure that your kids get outside time, or if they're being watched by a grandma because grandmas don't want to go outside. But it is one of the things that their bodies need. And if they're not getting it in the summer, then yeah, when are they going to get it? Because if you're bad in the summer, then you're definitely going to be bad in January where it's cold outside. So I would say that one of the good things about getting this video is June is that we can put an emphasis on making sure that the kids are getting scheduled to get enough time so they can be outside and play, because that's just good for everything. That's good for their body. It's good they get enough sunshine, they get enough vitamin D, and then that is going to make them more healthy. All right, so hopefully this video was helpful for you. Hopefully it spurred you to some kind of action. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, because not everybody is lucky enough that they go to RBK Pediatrics where we're kind of on top of all this kind of stuff. Sometimes they go to like a regular pediatrician. And if you like and subscribe, this will actually make sure that someone else who has a 6-year-old, they'll actually get this video, and then hopefully you'll be able to help someone in Seattle or Idaho or Hawaii or wherever. All righty? All right. Have a nice day.